of matchup is this new Dallas receiving core for your secondary, especially Young on one side?
I think it's a good matchup across the board. I think one thing that, is going to be a little bit different as far as they're concerned is they don't have Witten at tight end. Although they've got some formidable receivers, they've got guys that, do a good job getting open. They do have tight ends that are still good young players that are learning and growing and developing into their system. But truthfully, I think everything revolves around what they do up front. I think they're an offensive line-driven team. When they're running the ball well, they're pass protecting well, a lot of good things happen for them. Last year was a little bit of an enigma. They had their own issues and situations they had to deal with. But then you go back 2 seasons ago and you see the things that they accomplish with both Ezekiel running the ball and Dak throwing the ball. I think that's, to me, is more of an indicator of what you can anticipate. Granted, they did have, Jason at tight end, but still I think they've got some solid football players.
Ron, they're going to do that, their Pro Bowl center and Travis Frederick, but aside from that, you're just talking about their O-line. Do you think it is as good as there is in the NFL? People kind of put them in that kind of category.
I would. I think they've got a solid left tackle. They got a good-sized right tackle in Lael. They still got 2 very good guards, and they're playing Looney, a center who's been in the league and has played and done some good things. So, I think they're a good football team.
When you were asked about Lawrence yesterday, you reminded you got 2 pretty good defensive ends yourself, with double-digit sacks. You feel like they get overlooked sometimes, or that because they're
I think so.
A big number, but
it's a consistent number, but I do think they get overlooked. And that's unfortunate. It's kind of hard to overlook Julius, but I tell you right now, I do think Mario gets taken for granted. We don't take it for granted. I think people that evaluate and look at things, and talk about D lines and I guess there was a ranking or something like that. Our guys weren't even in the top 10, so we'll just go out and play football and then play the best we can.
What do you think makes a team good at getting takeaways?
Well, I think it's a conscious effort, first of all. You've got to have great effort, great hustle. Good things happen when you run to the ball and you're around the football. And then I think part of it is, just being lucky every now and then too. But I think it's a conscious effort and great hustle and effort.
Goes without saying, you certainly value that.
Yes, I do, very much so. I think it's important that that you emphasize specific things that are proven to lead to victories, and that's most certainly one of them.
Ron, taking care of veterans like you do with vet days and limited snap, is that something that was around when you played, and kind of when did that kind of come into?
Well, I can tell you right now, the only veteran teammates that I play with that got taken care of on a regular basis were Dan Hampton and Walter Payton, and both those guys are Hall of Famers. That was kind of the norm. There were specific guys that did get them. Now, you do it a little bit more, I think, because guys are playing a lot longer into their careers. To see as many guys that are playing 12, 13, 14, 15 years, I think is a big difference now. And so you do got to be aware of it, and you got to be willing to do those things. But I also think it's good too, because the young guys get some extra reps, get some extra time to develop, and that's also part of it. That's why during training camp it was never that big a deal as far as I was concerned. When we gave Greg Olson a day or Thomas Davis a day or Julius, we brought Julius back slowly, because that meant those younger guys got a lot of reps, a lot of quality reps, a lot of good opportunity to work with the ones and the twos, which normally would not have happened. And that's one thing that we like to do too, is we like to make sure our young guys are getting reps with the ones and the twos as well.
Where do you see DJ lining up, more in slot or outside, or what do you think he'll be doing?
I'll see him lining up as a receiver for us. We'll see. We'll see what Norv has in store for him.
What's the reasoning?
Yes, he can.
What's the reasoning behind adding the special teams captain back in?
Well, I think there's a couple things we're gonna do to make sure that I'm not just playing a lip service to how important special teams is. Every third home game we're going to introduce our special teams. So one week will be offense, next week will be defense, next week will be special teams. So again, like I said, I'm not going to, if we're going to talk about how important they are, then we're going to treat it like it's special. They deserve that, and so this year I'm making a concerted effort to make sure everybody realizes and recognizes these guys are just as big a part of what we do as our offense or defensive players.
Going along that line, Colin was saying that this year's special teams group can be more than just the guys that try to flip the field. They could actually be more of a weapon in what you guys are trying to do.
And I agree with that, just because of the type of guys we have as returners. I mean, you look at who we have back there, or we are going to have back there. They're explosive guys that can make a difference for us. Last year we returned a punt and a kickoff for a touchdown. You know, we flipped the field several times in critical games, and so those things are important. And you know, when people talk about it being a third of the game, you know, we as you know, as coaches have got to make sure we show their guys are more than just you know, lip service.
More than just returning, though, in coverage and
absolutely,
stuff like
coverage is just as important. I mean, you get a good punter, good punt, and you get them inside the 10, or a good kickoff, and you get them inside the 20. That's a big difference.
Right. How deserving is Colin with the work that he's done in his time here?
Oh, I think he's more than deserving, just because of how hard he works, the type of player he is, the type of person he is, and I think he's a great representative of who this organization and this team is, and I'm very pleased with the way the players picked him.
Ron, you guys several times, just about the last few years, have been among the oldest teams in the league when they do the math with the 53 rosters. I know you're aware of that. I guess what I'm asking is how do you, besides vet days off, how do you keep guys from breaking down, getting hurt, and getting them to the finish line?
Well, I think part of there's a whole bunch of things involved with it, Joe. I think our strength and conditioning, led by Joe Kinn, has been terrific. You know, we added a nutritionist a few years ago, and Jennifer has done a terrific job for this, working with those guys. You know, our training department and staff has done a great job. We bring in outside work for the players in terms of physical therapists and stuff like that. I mean, the stuff that Ryan and his guys do for us have been very good in helping not just the veteran guys, the older guys, but the younger guys as well. And it's an opportunity for them to learn how to do things the right way. And you know, we do try to emphasize specific things in terms of hydrating, eating properly, getting off your feet, you know, those types of things.
Is the fact that you guys are among the older teams most years kind of a testament to kind of how you like and Marty like to build rosters?
Well, I think, truthfully, though, you got to look at why, because I think we got a number of guys that are a lot older than the average player, and because of that, I think it boosts our average age. You know, I mean, Julius with his age, and then Khalil, and you know, and then you got Greg Olson and Mike Adams. I mean, you know, I like to think of it as the old guard and not the old money. You know, because when you go back and you look at it, there's a group of guys that are just older, and they're the ones that raise it. You know, and there's a fine line and a fine balance between that. You know, I was part of a team when I played back in the day. We got old at the end, and I think that was the bigger part of the problem we had, more so than anything else. You know, it just you know, it's important that you hit on your draft picks, so that eventually that transition can occur naturally. And if you don't, and those guys don't make it, you know, you'll end up sticking with older players a little bit longer. And sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it's a bad thing.
What signs did you see in that team that said, "Hey, we're getting old. We got to make some changes"?
Back then, back in the day, I'm not the one who was looking at it. Now I look back at it, and in retrospect, I look at it and I see it, you know, and thought, wow, you know, that certain things catch up to you, and age most certainly is one of them, especially in this game.
Coach, Nora was saying earlier that you guys have so many weapons on offense, Christian and Greg and Devin and everybody, that it's obviously makes it harder for the defense to stop you guys. But how much of the decision making when it comes to spreading the ball around is solely on Cam, and how much of that comes from the coaching staff itself?
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, the thing you can do is you can call personnel, whatever personnel is supposed to be out there is out there. Then you call a play, and then you have to go through your sequence of the play. And part of it is, what is the defense giving you, and what are you going to try and take from the defense? So it's a whole bunch of factors that go into deciding who gets the ball, and the ultimate decision maker is the quarterback. You know,
Do you see
so.
his decision-making grow over
I
the
think
course
it
of the year?
has. You know, I'd love to see it, and I know I've mentioned before a couple of years ago, I thought it was as good as it got. You know, we spread the ball around to a lot of different receivers. We handed the ball off to a lot of different runners. We put it in a position where he wasn't the primary runner either. I think that's important as well. So I think, again, as we go forward, a lot of it has to do with, you know, is the personnel that coach has in the game, what the call is, what the circumstances, situation of the game is. There's a lot that'll factor in to who's going to be getting the ball.
How confident are you in Amini or Daryl being ready now?
I'm confident. I mean, we won't know until Sunday. You guys won't know until Sunday. So we'll see.
Would you anticipate at least one of those guys being your right tackle?
I anticipate them being here, most certainly. They'll be here.